Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Grayson. I hope you are doing well. Today, we're going to talk about the topic of research types. As you recall, we've been spending the last part of the semester thinking about your research question and the types of research that you're interested in conducting. We've looked at variables and we've also looked at the hypothesis that you are interested in testing. So the next step in the research process is to really let us hone in on the types of research questions we might want to develop as we move forward. If you recall from our types of research that we discussed a few weeks ago, we're really interested in understanding one of two types of research. The first being qualitative. And what qualitative is really just trying to find out high level what is the meaning of something, or maybe understanding an experience that you are interested in. And the way that we do this from a question perspective is we just want to ask some very simple open-ended research questions to focus more on what's the opinions and the attitudes and the experiences of a consumer, and more so just getting their thoughts and watching their behaviors as opposed to really honing in on statistics or numbers. So what we want to get at here is, what's in the heads of those consumers and really letting them talk more and not really having us direct the conversation. So that would be qualitative. And again, we're looking for meaning. The other type of research questions or research that we're interested in understanding, and this is what you're going to do for your semester project, is empirical evidence to explain an occurrence. So what we're trying to do in this case is do more quantitative or statistical analysis to either prove or disprove a research hypothesis that you've put together. So let's first start off with the qualitative research types. We have qualitative exploratory questions. And basically what this is what you are doing right now for your first assignment, exploratory research. We want to learn more about a topic of interest that we have without at all putting our own bias or preconceived notions into it. So an example of this might be, so you're all college students, and maybe as a professor, I'm just interested in how do you spend your weekends? So that would be my research question, is how do college students at our school spend their weekends? So I might ask some of you a question like, what do you do on a typical weekend? What does that look like for you? And basically all I'm interested in is understanding more about you, about the college students, and the phenomenon of itself. I'm not putting any bias or any notion into what I think it is. I just want to learn from you so that when I'm ready to do some more quantitative research, I have that information at hand. The second type is predictive. Now, predictive research really looks at our experiences or questions that we've learned from past information, and then we want to predict particular hypothetical events. So if you think of the question that I just asked from the exploratory, I could take the information you told me and come up with, maybe you say, well, I really like to do hiking on the weekends. I try to always get a hike in. So what I might want to do is think about, well, based on what I've learned, what are some other hypothetical events? Maybe, people who don't work hike more than people who do, or, basically just want to come up with a prediction based on that information that I have. So a research topic example could be something like, are people more likely to buy a product after a celebrity promotes it? That's an interesting topic. And would you ever try a new product because a celebrity you respect said that it worked for them? Could be an interesting research question. So again, we're just sort of based on the knowledge we know and the questions that we're thinking about answering, we try to predict what might happen based on that particular information. The last qualitative type of research is interpretive, and what this is just watching people in their natural settings. We try to interpret how a group makes sense of their shared experiences or attributes or meanings of various things that come about. So we don't really try to predict people's behavior. We just gather feedback based on the things that they're doing in their natural environment. So an example of this, if we go back to you as college students, is how do college students handle the transition between a busy day at school and learning and work in the evening? That could be I could just maybe see you in different environments or ask you questions around, your just various work days. And so a question that I might pose would be something like, how do you feel when it's time to take your learning mind off and you go to work? So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper than just watching, your various behavior, but how do you really feel about that? So I'm interpreting information based on a natural setting that you might have in your life. So those are the three types of qualitative research types and questions. So next, we're going to focus less on getting more of that overall information, exploring it. We're going to hone in now on quantitative, where we want to understand numerically, statistically, information at a more quantitative level. So the first type that we do is descriptive questions. Now this is really where we as marketers focus a lot of our time. Is we want to understand the who, what, where, why, and when of why things occurred. Because when we do this, we can then make better predictions about what will happen in the future or understand what's going on today. So in these types of questions, we use data and statistics to just simply describe what is going on before we hone in on what we might think will happen in the future. So descriptive is just describing what we know or what we learn in a statistical manner. So we could do another topic here about college students. What percentage of college students felt depressed in the last year? As you know, we've all probably at times been depressed in the last year with everything that's going on in the world. And I might want to explore that as it relates to my students and their lives and how I can become a better professor by understanding this better. So one of the questions I might have if I were to talk to college students is, how often do students report their feelings of depression? Maybe I'm going to go to some maybe I'll create a questionnaire or ask some folks. And this is exactly what I'm trying to do is describe the initial situation that we're in today with the where, what, why, when, or how something occurred. Secondly, for quantitative is sometimes we use what's called comparative questions. And this is to compare one occurrence with another. So comparing questions are really helpful when we're studying dependent variables. So remember, a dependent variable is the outcome of something. So if we can compare one outcome to another, we've got a really good basis for understanding. So comparative questions are used a lot of times in marketing when we're doing studies on A/B testing of different products, different features, different advertisements. But let's look at one research example that has to do with maybe getting headaches. So I'm sure you get a headache on occasion with all the studying that you do, particularly those of you who juggle families and work and school. It's a tough deal. So maybe one of the questions I have is, which painkiller is most effective for headaches? You got a headache? I might want to, I'm not a scientist, but from a social science perspective, this might be an interesting question as well. So my follow-up question would be, do Advil or Tylenol target pain in the same way? So maybe that's, I want to compare two different dependent variables. Dependent meaning, what is the outcome? The outcome of Advil could, be more effective than the outcome of Tylenol. But what I want to do is dig a little bit deeper and understand, do they target the same sort of pain? So that would be an example of comparative questions. Now, the last quantitative research type of question is called relationship-based. And really what this what we're trying to understand in this case is how one variable affects or influences another. And remember when we talked about independent and dependent variables last time, and we did a number of different exercises on the outcome and what variables, what sort of relationship a particular independent variable will have on an overall outcome or dependent variable. So these questions are often done in quasi-experimental or experimental studies. So let's say we have a research topic of, do college grades have any impact on future success? So our dependent variable here is future success. And we're wondering if college grades have an impact on future success. So we might want to dig a little bit further and ask a follow-up question of, what are the relevant factors that affects one grades in college? So remember, that would be all of your independent variables. So we're looking at relationships between, maybe it's I work and I have good grades, then I have more success. Or maybe I don't work so I can focus on my grades and that will help my future success. Or maybe it's a demographic of some sort. So we basically want to just learn what relationships we have between two variables that create, that might have an influence on a particular outcome. So I want you to think about, as we wrap up here, knowing what you want to study will help determine the type of research questions to ask. So I want you to look through all of these and think about, when we start developing our questions, which will come next time, which of these types of research questions will you use for your semester project? So next time we're going to discuss developing good questions. Again, I want you to have a good foundation on the variables that you're interested in, your hypotheses. Study these types of research questions, and let's come up with a plan on what types of questions you want to understand, and we'll talk about how we develop good questions to get the information that you need to successfully answer your research question. So thank you very much. If you happen to have any questions, as always, email me via Canvas. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. And I look forward to seeing and hearing all of you soon. Take care.